to a newlywed couple?
Firstly, I think they should try to understand each other. They should try to respect each other. Before the wedding, there was a different environment. After the wedding, the dynamics change. Both those people are in a relationship now and in a different environment, so they have to make some compromises. And in my opinion, compromise is the key for a happy married life.
There's many things that get in the way. It could be lack of communication between the two. So communication is really the number one key factor, because if husband and wife or the two spouses, partners have communication between each other and they're able to tell each other things openly, that can act as a big deterrent when a big argument or a fight happens within the family. So I would say that's the number one thing. There's a lot of other things that could get in the way of a healthy relationship, such things that aren't discussed before marriage, such as when to have kids, finances, where you're going to be living. So it's all the things that you should be talking about beforehand that's not talked about, which kind of gets in the way.
So you've done some research on premarital counseling in other cultures. Mm-hmm. What did you find? What did you discover?
Well, I found that in terms of premarital counseling in the Christian and Catholic religions, because it's mandatory for them to go through premarital counseling, that they've actually had a greater turnover in terms of marital satisfaction, because they were able to talk about these things prior to being married, and because of the preparation beforehand, they were able to kind of figure things out as they went instead of being shocked by the problems when they came out of nowhere. Figure out finances before you get married. You need to figure out what type of communication works for both of you, what you like about each other. Are you going to be living with the in-laws or are you not? When are you going to have children? So basically all the components that would be covered in a premarital counseling group as part of education. You need to have that dialogue with that person. I would say even before you attend a group, because it's good for you to both be on the same page.
It's going to take time. It's not a 1 month thing. It's not a 2 month thing. It is going to take a few years. I probably would say when a person comes to a new country, from India, it takes for 5 years to acculturate.
And man doesn't understand. Sometimes it's because our men drink a lot. That causes a problem. So there are many things that we observe around us when the domestic violence takes place.
The relationship is free of violence. You can't have respect, trust, humor, or any of the other factors mentioned above if there is violence in the relationship.
Gosh, I think about what you're saying. Okay, I accept I shouldn't have shoved you like that. I don't know what came over me. But come on, if words get around. Think of how your parents are going to react if they find out.
I don't think it just pertains to our culture, it's cross-cultural, but there are specific things in the South Asian culture that stand out a bit more, and one of those things would be that there's always a lot of pressure for people to drink, especially at family gatherings, social events, to buy people. Sometimes we will have a victim who says maybe her husband is on conditions not to drink at one time because it was our kid's birthday party. So, I didn't make a big deal out of it that time, but they don't realize that that's still encouraging the behavior. There should be no exception if there's a problem with alcohol.
The following checklist, in no particular order, is one that all couples should review regularly, whether they have known each other for a few days or for decades. Chances are that the more of these you check off, the healthier your relationship is. Number 1, love yourself. Only when you love yourself are you truly ready and capable of loving someone else.
It's not working. Sometimes we say that, he's a house husband. That is the concept which our people do not understand yet, don't think that it is. It's often said, "Ye ta kudiyan de kam hunde ne." But things have changed.
The responsibilities were clearly defined. I was the bread earner, and my wife did the housework, and she took care of the kids when we had the children. And those were very clearly defined. Although we did work together in many areas, but now things have changed. Now both partners are working most likely.
Man doesn't understand that a woman is doing a double role now, working at home and working outside. That causes some stress on the woman. And
okay. But if I get asked one more time whether I'm making your favorite chicken for you, I might just crack.
Just say you do, okay?
But I don't, and you know I can't. I'm good at a lot of stuff, but you know I just can't cook well.
Listen, I don't want them finding out I do the cooking, okay? My mom will never get off my case. She'll start feeling bad for me and come over to make sure I'm properly fed. Would you like that?
The women were not earning money. Here they go out, work, and still if they get that kind of treatment, it's very difficult for them to keep on receiving it.
Please, I don't want to go if I don't look good.
What do you mean, darling? तो दही सोनी है?
Look, itna kya ke saath ho? I hate it. Preeti, Asha, they look so good decked out. I feel like a pauper when I go.
Hey, no wife of mine is looking like a pauper.
Settle in, to establish yourself, to come to some terms, what you want to be, where you want to be, why you want to be here, you still want to go back, or are you now settled and accepted? And I think it's about the same with couples too. About 4 to 5 years before you're going to really get to that stage. So it's okay, to argue. It's all right to argue. It's okay to do that. But it's also important to not go for the jugular. But that's important, because once you do that, relationship won't last beyond a couple of weeks, and then there's a downhill trend from there.
You want a new outfit?
No, I was just hoping to wear a new necklace.
I don't know these things, what you're saying. I work 2 jobs. I'm that tired. Barely keeping things going. You have to understand.
Understand what? That I'm not worth it? That Asha's husband thinks she's worth it? What are you saying about me then?
That I love you, but you can't push me to buy things.
Number
Just-
5, intimacy. In our community, people generally don't talk about what they enjoy sexually. A healthy relationship is one where there is intimacy, and both people feel pleasure in being intimate.
It's not worth
The family members of a newlywed couple. Well, if you were speaking to, say, the parents of the boy or the parents of the girl.
For the families, I would say, please be there to support them, but do not interfere. If they have a problem, there are minor problems always, because we are dealing with 2 different personalities, and now they have come together in a different environment. So support them and be there to help if you are needed. But don't impose yourself on them and don't dictate your own ideologies to them.
It's a loss. ਉਹਨਾਂ ਲਈ ਵੀ ਇਹ loss ਹੁੰਦਾ ਵੀ ਹੁਣ ਇਹਦੀ ਇੱਕ ਆਪਣੀ ਲਾਈਫ ਹੋ ਗਈ ਆ ਸੋ ਇਹ ਦੋਨੋਂ ਧਿਰਾਂ ਤੇ ਹੈਗਾ ਆ ਮਾਂ-ਬਾਪ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਛੱਡਣਾ ਪੈਂਦਾ ਆ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਆਪਣੀ ਲਾਈਫ ਜੀਣਾ ਦੇਣ ਲਈ ਤਿਆਰ ਰੱਖਣਾ ਪੈਂਦਾ ਵੀ ਹੁਣ ਤੂੰ ਅੱਗੇ ਮੂਵ ਔਨ ਕਰ ਸਕਦਾ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਸਾਡੇ ਕਲਚਰ 'ਚ ਮੁਸ਼ਕਿਲ ਆ ਪੇਰੈਂਟਸ ਲਈ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਪੜ੍ਹਾਇਆ ਲਿਖਾਇਆ ਔਰ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਜੁੜੇ ਰਹਿਣ
Emphasizes the couple should take full advantage of their parents, in the positive sense. Parents are a great asset. Try to use them, but at the same time, get their consent too. Make them feel welcome. Make them feel make them feel part of the process, decision-making process. And also at the same time, I urge the parents of the bride and the groom to be supportive rather than interfering. Let them, if they have any problem, you should be there to support them, to help them when they need you, rather than you imposing upon them. So those are some of the things that I think can make a marriage really enjoyable and happy one.
कुछ ऐसे छुआ मुझको कैसा गजब अब ये हुआ कुछ भी न बस में रहा अब तो दिल बस यही
It is a misconception that everything the two of you do has to be 50-50. If you enjoy cooking and your spouse is better at yard work, then you can cook most of the time, and they can do most of the yard work.
One of the major barriers, in my opinion, is the lack of understanding, the lack of respect. Once you try to understand each other, these barriers come down.
ਜਾਂ ਇਹ ਸਿਚੁਏਸ਼ਨ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ ਸੋ ਫਿਰ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲੇ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਨੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਇਨਟੇਕ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਪੁੱਛਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਵੀ ਕੀ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮਸ ਹੋ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸੋ ਯੂਜੂਅਲੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਮੇਨ ਇਸ਼ੂਜ਼ ਅਸੀਂ ਵੀ ਦੇਖ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਜੋਤੀ ਕਹਿ ਰਹੇ ਸੀਗੇ ਵੀ ਸੈਪਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਹੋ ਰਹੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਯੂਜੂਅਲੀ ਕਮਿਊਨੀਕੇਸ਼ਨ ਵੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਵੱਡੀ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਮਿਸ ਇੰਟਰਪ੍ਰੀਟ ਕਰ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਆ ਵੀ ਮੇਰਾ ਹਸਬੈਂਡ ਨੇ ਕੀ ਕਿਹਾ ਸੀ ਜਾਂ ਮੇਰੀ ਮਦਰ ਇਨ ਲਾ ਨੇ ਕੀ ਕਿਹਾ ਸੀ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਗੱਲ ਵੱਧ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਆ ਸੋ ਅਸੀਂ ਜਦੋਂ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲੇ ਰੈਫਰਲ ਆਉਂਦੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ ਅਸੀਂ ਟਰਾਈ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ ਫਰਸਟ ਵੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਪਤਾ ਲਗਾਈਏ ਵੀ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ 'ਚ ਹੋ ਕੀ ਰਿਹਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਲੇਡੀ ਨੂੰ ਕੀ ਦੇ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ ਵੀ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਹੈਲਪ ਕਰ ਸਕੇ ਜੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਦੇ ਇਸ਼ੂ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਾਉਂਸਲਰ ਦੇ ਕੋਲੇ ਭੇਜ ਦਾਂਗੇ ਜੇ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਹੈਲਪ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਹੈ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਾਉਂਸਲਿੰਗ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਰੈਫਰਲ ਦੇ ਦਾਂਗੇ ਜੇ ਕਸਟਡੀ ਆ ਬੱਚੇ ਦੀ ਹੁਣ ਹੈਲਪ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਵੀ ਕਸਟਡੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ
That's another thing that keeps them hesitant. Sometimes they may not have family here or even relatives here, then they don't know what to do.
So we are very interested and we are strong advocates in people taking responsibility for their actions and then working with them to solve family problems so that it doesn't affect their job or their travel plans moving forward or their life moving forward.
I mean, these people are raised where they're not supposed to tell everything. So I think there's nothing wrong in not letting the parents know if they are making any decisions, if they are going anywhere. Even these little things matter. We expect in our culture that she should change everything and she should try to understand every individual. But I personally feel that it should be other way around. Family should try to understand her and meet her needs and give her time to get to know the family so that they can live happily.
I'll only respect him if he goes to this particular function with me. I'll only respect her if she doesn't mind if I drink and sometime I get out of hand. So it's about not having any strings. It's ultimate altruistic respect. Respecting that person beyond anybody else. Let's face it, you have made a decision. I have made a decision as a husband. And if there's anybody else who takes precedent over that, we got a problem.
Look, I know you're tired, but please just pull it together and try to smile through this one. It's normal that we do the newlywed dinner circuit.
I can't. I just can't. They're so rude to me. They ask me these probing questions. It's like they have this license to interrogate because I married their one and only beloved son.
Hey, okay, just stop there. This is my family you're talking about. I can hear your complaints, Asha, but not when you insult my family.
Insult? Insult? I just want you to be on my side for once.
Janiman, I am okay. Just understand with family, we have to be gentle, okay? I'm okay with you speaking your mind to my buddies, but you have to be good around my parents, okay?
Whatever. No. It's knowing priorities. It's knowing boundaries, setting those boundaries, in a respectful manner. And the second part is having a shared vision. I see a lot of couples. For example, I want to build a house. It's perfectly okay to have just different taste. And hey, you know what? I don't like this picture, or I don't like that. Okay, let's talk about it. Let's talk about what our shared vision is, not just for the house. Where do we want to go? What I suggest people is, you know what? It's nice to sit down and communicate about where do we want to be 5 years from today as a couple.
Because you have to respect each other's interests, you have to respect each other's aspirations and work from there.
Make it that. And what are the 5 things I usually suggest to people? Well, most people will first of all say money. Okay, it's important. Career, important. I think spirituality is important. That doesn't necessarily mean religion. One doesn't have to be religious. Certainly spirituality, I think, is important. Health and fitness, that's important. Community work, community involvement. I think those are about 5 things where I say people focus on that. But chances are, where do people focus on most? Money, career. Okay. Spirituality, health and fitness goes down the drain. Community, family involvement gets dragged in somehow and becomes a huge issue there. But if we need to give equal weight to those, and when we sit down and plan for the 5-year, say, okay, where are we going to be on this? If you don't have goals, you won't get there. It's not about enjoying, it's not about love, which is to bring 2 people together, regardless of how that relationship comes about. It's about managing differences. similarities we all enjoy. We meet, we courtship, we meet the family, we go through the marriage, we enjoy the good times. But it's about learning how to manage those differences that we have.